Hey, hope you're having a good Tuesday. Thank you for joining me for today's 5 for 5. Last week and this week, we are seeing a lot of our students get back to school. Our public school kids went back last week. Private schools are going back this week. Our college students are heading into this week or moving in next week and starting classes. And so all this is happening at the same time, it seems. And it's that time of year when things crank back up, when we try to get a lot of plans going here, but when our students are also trying to make a lot of plans for the year ahead. You know, plans are a funny thing. We look forward down the road, we aim for these dates, we plan the best we can, and we look forward to them thinking of what we'll do and how to go. And if anything, over the last 2 years, we've learned that often our best plans, they seem to fall apart, and we have so little control over it. In James chapter 4, we're reminded of something of the way that we should make our plans, of how our plans should probably be held more lightly, and how our plans ultimately need to identify with the Lord and look for His will and His purposes above all else. In James 4:13, it says, "Come, now you who say today or tomorrow we will go into such and such a town, and we'll spend a year there and trade and make a profit, yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring." We've learned that so well since March of 2020. We've learned in so many ways that we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. Even now, as we start the school year, we don't know if tomorrow the school year is going to continue in all of our schools. As we take our kids off to college, as we get them moved into their dorms and they start classes, we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And James is reminding these merchants, these people who trade and do business, to realize that as they do that business, to not get so arrogant or to not get so far ahead of what the Lord would have them to hear. He says, listen to this. He says, "What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time and then you vanish. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that." You know, it starts with that, if the Lord wills. In all of our best efforts to plan ahead, in all of our best efforts to look down the road, it has to start with, if the Lord wills. And ultimately, we've seen that it's all about what He is going to plan and what He's going to do. His will is going to be done. And though our best plans and our best efforts, we may try to do what we want to do, ultimately we are trusting in Him because He knows tomorrow. When we look ahead and we think we know what's going to be, our life is just a short picture of all that God's got in store. And so we say, if the Lord wills, and we look forward down the road and we want to seek His will for ourselves and the life that He's called us to live for Him. We say, if the Lord wills, we are going to go and do the things that He leads us to do. And each day is a step to go as the Lord wills. And we follow after Him through this. It says, "As it is, we boast in your arrogance, and all such boasting is evil." And there's a verse at the end of this. My mom would often remind me of this verse as I was going through the school year. And I would say I'd forgotten something or something that I knew I should have done and then I didn't do. And she would quote this verse. It would say, "Whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him it is sin." It's interesting because you look at the whole context and it's like, how does this verse fit with the 13 through the 16 that precede it? How does this come together? I think what's going on here is we're saying that if we know that we need to recognize God's sovereignty, we need to recognize God's power and His knowledge of what's to come, and then we choose not to do it, we've actually committed sin in that way. Furthermore, if God is saying we need to do something for Him and for His glory and for His kingdom, and we turn our backs on that and go our own way and seek our own pursuits, then we're not seeking the will of God in our lives. We're not seeking to do the good that He's called us to do. Then it's a sin for us in that way. So in a very real sense, by failing to do the things that God would have us to do, we are choosing to sin. So I encourage you to look at James 4, check out James 4, and as we look at our plans, as we look at the life ahead, as we look at the year ahead, let's first surrender to God's sovereignty. Let's surrender to His will and His purpose in our life. And let's surrender starting today, that we look to see what is His perfect will, what would He have us to do. And as we see the good that He calls us to do, let's be obedient, to follow through, to not sin and turn our backs on the heart of God and the mind of God, but to truly follow after Him as He wills and as He wants, to seek Him wholeheartedly and to seek the will that He has for our lives. Hope you have a great day.